Hey guys, it's PringerX05 here. I've had a few requests from my previous video as to doing a deck list. I would have done it a while ago, like literally on the same day, but I've been absolutely hectic over the last week, haven't managed to do any form of videos or anything. So I've managed to get some time in today to do it, and I've updated it a couple of times since the video that I posted previously. Like Reckless Greed is no longer in here. I can explain that later on if you'd like, but I just want to get straight to the deck list for you. So we're going to start off with 3 Fabled Grimro, which is just your standard searcher for the deck. She's not as important as she would be in a standard Fabled deck, just for the fact that she's a fiend and she's level 4. This deck is much more based around the beasts in the deck. But she manages to get everything you need when you need it, and she doesn't +1 or -1 from your hand at all, which is really important when Unicorn's your main card. She just sets you up for future plays. So she's really important, so you stick with 3 of her. And you've got the Fabled Ganashia, which is great for synchroing in general, along with the Chower and stuff like that. You can go straight into Unicorn from there. Unicorn is really important for the deck. And even Kodabi, if you have no cards in hand, you can go to that. But the only problem is Kodabi has slightly less attack. And I mean slightly, but it does make a difference. Um, Ganashia is a really decent card in general. It's a bit of a beta as well. Once it comes out from the grave, it becomes 1800 attack. You don't usually normal summon it anyway, so it will always be 1800. It's an important card of the deck, but not key. And you got one Kushano, which you only need one, as it recurs itself constantly. It's there in the deck just in case later. It's good to set up early game so that later on you don't end up with a dead draw in your hand like a Saburl with no ways of getting rid of it in your hand, but no ways of special summoning it. So Kushano is quite important. You don't usually use it for anything else other than its discard ability. That's it really, just stick with the one, you do not need any more than that. You've also got 3 Fabled Nazuchi, which is a very important card in the deck. I'd probably say it was one of the most important cards in the whole deck. Which is, it special summons itself by discarding a Fabled, which usually the Fabled is then special summoned, and when he's special summoned in the way, by discarding that he special summons another Fabled from his hand. So with one card you're normally making 3 guys in one go, which is the equivalent to an Obedience Schools, but obviously you're not plussing as much. But he's still really important. You usually special summon him with the Obedience School as one of the non-tuners, and with him and Saburl you're usually making Unicorns and Ronin Raccoons. So yeah, very important. I'd stick with 3, I wouldn't change it. This is a newer edition, which is the Fabled Cruise, or Crus, whichever you'd like to say it. It's really helped me actually, and I've stuck with it. I don't know why I wasn't running it before. Oh, just dropped one from my deck. So just quickly add that in. Either way, it's a really decent card in general. It makes for your level 8 play, which the only one that I run is Stardust Spark Dragon because it's so decent in here. Just extra protection for Unicorn until you can work with the hand advantage again and get it back up and running. The Cruise makes Grimro more playable and gives it more use in the deck, and just adds to consistency, and it's a great ability. So just 2 of them, you don't need any more than that. As it's a fiend and you can't special summon it in any other way, and it doesn't make the Ronin Raccoons, just stick with the 2. The Fabled Cerberus, which by far I'd say now is the most important card in the deck, on par with Obedience School. This is your standard tuner that you're going to be getting out every single time you activate Obedience School. It even hints you to play it through the card, which is the front cover of the card. It's a really decent card. It's hard, almost never a dead draw. It can be, obviously, if you haven't got anything to discard it with and you have no other monsters in hand. But it is really decent. It's a fantastic card. Gets all your synchros out. And yeah, there's not much more needs to be said. You got 2 Pompoko and you got the 2 Tantans. I stick with the Raccoons just for their consistency. Fabled has a high chance of being very inconsistent on their own. They usually blow up like Infernities do, and then left with nothing in hand if your opponent gets rid of it, your main card. So these guys do really help with the consistency of the deck, and also usually if you're going turn 1 Obedience Schooled, it's good, but you can't use its full potential on your first turn because you want to stick with the same amount of cards in hand as your opponent. So usually with Obedience Schooled, usually just dropping off one. You special summon the 3, you make the Unicorn, you end, and one of them goes straight to the bin. The only reason for that is because you're then left with the same number of cards in hand, and your opponent has to waste two cards to get rid of Unicorn. So Ponpoko in general and Tantan, my usual plays is if I get one, just summon the Ponpoko to set the Tantan and end. You don't mind taking a bit of damage, but next turn you will blow up almost for certain. So these are really important, and they obviously add to the Ronin Raccoon. Your two Max Cs, these are really important in the deck for Unicorn, as you can drop them at any time in your opponent's turn. So usually what will happen is you will end your turn with the same number of cards in your opponent's as your opponent. They'll draw one, of course, and the first card they play will be negated, because then it will be back to the same amount. Then your opponent will usually, most of the time actually on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro they're not very good at realising that, and they do make a lot of mistakes and a lot of errors. But the people who do understand that and do that, if they set a card first and then activate, and you're left with one more card in your opponent's hand than the other, you have the Max C to drop. For instance, setting a random back row that's not important, then dark holing to get rid of Unicorn. You can then drop the Max C for no reason at all, and the dark hole will be negated, because you then again have the same amount of cards in hand. So really important. And obviously Max C for its own ability is fantastic. Go on to one Cat Sith. This card is not normally special summon with Obedient Scald. It's not really the relevance of it being a beast or a tuner or level 1, funnily enough, that actually makes it worthwhile being in the deck. It's just the effect of being able to pop a card and continue on. You use this, dropping Grimroad to grab a Cat Sith and then, discarding it just to nuke something. You do use it quite often, and it's there, and it's very easy to grab into your hand, very easy to search for, and it's really helpful. With the monster reincarnations being in the deck as well, you can Obedient Scald it, drop it, and then grab it back to your hand, and then further discard it later, which I've done a couple of times. So just a one-off really. It's nothing amazing, it's just its effect is really helpful. But if I say it's nothing amazing, I would still keep it in the deck for that reason. You got the 2 Chower. Some people run 3, I stick with 2. It's a lot better at 2. It clogs your hand, and usually the level 1 tuners are a lot less effective than the Sabarrel is. But the reason it runs in the deck is again, it discards cards from your hand. And along with Ganashia, as I said earlier, makes Unicorn straight away. Or if you haven't used the Obedient Scald and you're allowed to not use Beast, it summons your Armory Arm. Just brilliant. You have one Key Mouse, which I was looking into deck lists all week, whenever I had an opportunity, and people have started running 3 Key Mouse. I didn't even know what Key Mouse was. I'd never seen it before, but I read it and I thought, it does sound good, it does sound helpful, but I still wouldn't run 3. I tried it with 1 just because of the ability to turn one Obedient Scald into an Aturia Beast against certain decks like Karakuri, and, well, I say Karakuri, there's plenty of decks, mainly, I should be saying, Prophecy. Prophecy will die to Beast, as they only have one way of getting rid of Beast in Prophecy, is either attacking over it. So Key Mouse is in there just as a one-off. I was thinking about running a second one inside just for Prophecy, but it's not really worth it. It's a good one-off. And obviously its other effect as well is that when it's destroyed by battle, I get to add a level 3 or lower beast type monster, which is most of the deck. So again, searchability. So he's really decent just as a one-off. And then to top it off, we've got 2 Effect Veilers, which are just there as Effect Veilers. They need to be there. Very unlikely you'd normally normal summon an Effect Veiler in this game, in this deck. It's not really worth it. But again, it's droppable to stop any cards destroying your Unicorn. It then evens out of hand again, same as Max C, but not quite as effective as the Max C, as you have to have a target. But still really good as an Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler Max C, going to go in most decks nowadays anyway. So we'll move on to the spells. I've stuck with 1 Day of Peace. I've had that since the beginning of building this deck. Just in case you don't end up getting everything you need in your hand, 1 Day of Peace gives you an extra turn, gives you an extra 2 cards before you can then try again. So you have your 1 card from the draw, and then you draw for the next turn. It's really decent, and also it's all about leveling your hand with your opponent with this deck. So again, it does that. It gives your opponent a +1. Obedient Scald is the reason for the deck, really. It's the staple. It's an incredibly good card. You don't even have to deny the fact that it's incredibly good just for the first line, which is if you control no monster special summons 3 level 2 or lower. the rest of it doesn't even matter. If you can only special summon beasts, you can special summon beasts. It doesn't matter. The Ronin Raccoon is an insanely good card, and so is Unicorn. Um, it's an incredible card. It really did help a lot. I've been waiting for Fabled to be good for a long time, and this is the card that they needed. So yeah, definitely three of them. Got three Dark World Dealings, which so far they are good and they've stayed with me since the beginning. But there is a possibility I could take them out. They're not as important as I thought they would be. Um, I'm still keeping them in for now until I can think of a really decent replacement. If you guys think of a better replacement, I've tried Drag Down. It sucks in here. It really is bad. You can try it for yourself, but I really think it's terrible. So if you can find a replacement for Dark World Dealings, that'd be great. But so far, it's still really helpful at times. You've got two monster reincarnations, which are fantastic. They combo with the Grimrow really well. Just dropping Grimrow to grab a card that needs to be discarded special summon, discard that card to grab the Grimrow back, and then activate Grimrow again. There's so many plays with reincarnation in this deck. It's so important. It was my choice either to use monster. I had the choice of that or Lightning Vortex, and went with the reincarnation, and I'm happy to stick with it. We got two MSTs, which just used for shooting back row, just to see if just so you can blow up. MST is just a staple standard card anyway. There's not much explanation for it. And then we go on to the last three traps. We've only run three traps in the deck, which is Trap Stun, which is a one-off, which I've just added to the deck, which is really helpful at the moment because you are going to be trying to kill your opponent in like maybe a couple of turns. You will blow up with the Sandai's. And then we got the Phoenix Wing Wind Blasts, which are like they are fantastic. You can run a Torrential Tribute in here if you want to. You can even run Treacherous Trap Hole because you don't run many traps. But in my opinion, drop it. Stack in your opponent's deck so that they get almost a dead draw, a repeat draw, and being able to have plays off of the discard. It's too good for me. I need to run them. But again, only two of, you don't need three. It's inconsistent at three. You need more monsters than anything in this deck. But it's definitely worth running. But that's the main deck anyway. We're at 41, which is absolutely fine. I don't like to go further than 41. I know some people prefer 42 or some go with 42. I try to stick with as low as possible. 40 if I can. So we move on to the extra deck. We've got the Stardust Spark Dragon, which is the only level 8 I run. Just recently came out, but it's great. It's just a protection, and I prefer it to Stardust. Anyway, just because it can stay on the field through destruction, which means it's just a wall as well, and it can protect the cards that matter most. Anyway, we've got one Paladin Zektron, which is a new card that's come out, worth absolutely. I mean, it's worth pennies at the moment. I think it's about £1.50, £2, but this card is amazing. It's an incredible standard level 6 synchro. The effect is it can't be destroyed with battle or card effects of the turn it's summoned, or you don't take any damage. Brilliant for when you're just trying to blow up in one turn, and level 6 is very easy to make in this deck. Orange Dragon, just a standard Orange Dragon, really good level 6 synchro, and you're going up against a few synchros at the moment in this sort of in this format. You've got the Fire Fist synchros now, and just your other standard synchros. People are doing quite a lot, going up against Armor Masters and things like that when people are running Gale. Just destruction for them. One Fabled Ragin. I used to use two, but you hardly ever make it because it's a fiend, which means you can't special summon it when your Obedience School's been activated. But really good when you're running low on cards, just able to make it draw two. It just adds consistency. So I'll leave one in there. I've got Thunder Unicorn in there. Which is a card that was just never used ever, and it was never even worth using. But it's actually quite a decent card. Just drops your opponent's attack for quite a lot actually. It's 500 attack for each monster you control, which this deck you can be having up to 5 monsters on your side of the field. So you could be dropping 2/5 attack on a monster. But he's the only monster that can attack that turn. So you usually set up, just attack the card that you've reduced the damage of, and then leave it. Really good in certain timing, and it's a beast which is summonable. Otherwise I'd be using Mistborn Clauseless because it does it better. We've got Naturia Beast, which is only playable through using Key Mouse in this deck, but again Obedience Schooled gets all three. It gets that out consistently, so that's in there just for its incredible use in the last few formats. It needs to be in there when it can. And last level 5 is Catasta, which is standard, standard Catasta. I hardly ever use it, to be honest with you, but it's there if I need it. Then you've got the main parts of the deck, the main cards of the deck, which are Fabled Unicorn. At the moment I'm only running 2 in here, but I am thinking about taking out maybe the Catasta or the Thunder Unicorn for a third. They're really important, you need them as much as possible, but so far I've never had to go through more than 2. Main card of the deck, this is actually, surprisingly enough, more of a control deck than an aggro deck, but it can go either way. And these are your control, as well as the Sandayus. And one Fabled Kadabi, which is good when you're really running low on hand. Your Unicorns are then pointless by that point, and Kadabi's just there. You know, you can't be destroyed by battle or card effects when you have no cards in hand, and he's there later on when you draw into like a Sabaro or something. You can then go straight into Powered Insectron, who's also pretty decent. Armory Arm at another level 4 is fantastic. It's probably the best level 4 besides the Unicorn. You can even Armory Arm your own Unicorn, which makes your Sandayu tokens massive, at 3/3 each, so it does blow up quickly. And Formula Synchron, due to being able to synchro with the Sandayu tokens and the Effect Veiler or the Chower or the Cat Sith, so you can make them. It's not very often I make him because my Sandayu tokens are usually quite powerful. You don't really want to get rid of them on the field, but in the end, pretty good. I've got a Daigusto Phoenix in here, but I'm probably going to be taking that out actually for the third Sandayu or a third Unicorn. It's good, but it's nowhere near as good as Sandayu is. And actually, I thought of using it for the OTKs of being able to, attack for 3k. But usually Sandayu and its token attack for more than 3k on their own, so it's not really worth it. And then last but not least, Sandayu, which is fantastic. You detach an XYZ to make a beast with equal attack to the highest attack on the field, which is great, gets over anything, and can't be destroyed while there's a beast by battle or card effects while there's a beast on the field, which is incredible. Absolutely great card. It's like a mini sort of Dracossack for rank 2s. Apart from the blow up ability, but he special summons some beastie guys, so he's really, really decent. When you've got 2 of them on the field, he makes a dupe wall, which is brilliant. A fantastic card in general. One of the reasons I run the deck. Just going to quickly rush off to the side deck. I'm not going to go too much into detail with this because we're running a bit over time. But we've got 2DD Crow, which is just for the Fire Fist. I mean, Fire Fist do wreck this deck quite badly. They can hurt this deck. So nuking. Because Bear can nuke Unicorn without any hand advantage dropping, which is quite frustrating. So dropping the DD Crows anyway, just for obviously not for Bear, but usually for like Rooster and things like that, and Spirit. So they're there. One XYZ Encore, just the standard, really good side deck card at the moment, just for the XYZs. Then you've got 3 Closed Forest, which are things against. I believe that Gravekeeper's going to be seeing more play, and Necro Valley does hurt me. So Closed Forest is there. It's really helpful, and also they all get attack boost, which is great. Especially with the Sandayu tokens, because they'll get the attack boost of the monster that's had its attack boost, and then get another attack boost, if that makes any sense at all. So they can get really beefy with this. The only reason they're in the side deck is there's not enough room in the main deck, and they're only more important and double as useful when you're going against a deck with field spells. Another 2 trap stuns, just in case you're playing against something very controlling. Control decks do hurt this. I mean, Noble Knights are actually a bit of a bitch in this deck as well. So I've got a couple of trap stuns in there. Some overworks again for Fire Fists and for Noble Knights. Imperial Iron Walls, they're for I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you, how many decks are using this currently, because the meta is changing, thankfully. But I'm testing these out and see how they go, because I don't banish any cards from my deck anyway. A couple of mistakes, which the only thing that affects me is the Grimrose, but it affects other decks a hell of a lot more. So Mistake is a staple side deck card, and just a single Soul Drain, which can be painful in this deck, but there are ways of just being able to use the Raccoons and using cards in hand that can make the Sandayus and get over all of it. This deck has even managed to get over a Light Imprisoning Mirrors turn 1, which is kind of difficult, seeing most of them are light. I have replays of that if you guys ever want to watch that. But that's everything, to be honest with you. This deck has done me very well. I think I'm so far on to, I think it's 19 wins and 7 losses, which a couple of those losses were due to bugging out, so they count as rage quitting, which is kind of annoying. But yeah, this deck's been fantastic for me. I've built maybe 5 or 6 decks on here, which include things like Frog Monarch, which you guys have seen, Insector, Machina Gadget, Zombies, all these sort of decks here. I've played Insectors. Insectors are the closest to being perfect, but this deck is the only deck that I'm truly proud of. I've built it up myself. I've been saving it, getting all the cards while they're still cheap. The Fabled cards are all still very cheap at the moment, so I'm getting hold of them. Never need to get them again, and the Raccoon stuff is very cheap. Obedience School is very cheap. Everything is very cheap, but I imagine they will be going up. They will be more popular, and the deck will be more popular soon. So there's your deck list, guys. I'm also going to be posting my first match video, which will be hopefully using the side deck a bit more, just to show you guys the deck fully in action after all the tweaks and changes. So if you guys want to watch that, make sure I put it in an annotation on this video, and I will see you guys in the next video.